Soul Garden.
Having trouble in your love life? I have the answers. It's called Secrets of Birthdays, the Love and Lust Report. The biggest problem usually is people choose the wrong person. Not anymore. Find out your birthday secrets, available online at secretsofbirthdays.com. Hello, my fellow soul gardeners, and welcome to Astro 102, episode 10. We're going to be talking about grand aspects. Well, what are grand aspects? Well, grand aspects are small aspects that all build up to a grand picture. And there's three grand aspects we're going to look at today. We're going to look at the grand cross or grand square, however you want to look at that or say that. We're going to look at the yod, and we're going to look at the grand trine, or what I call the soul pyramid. Let's start with the Grand Cross. The Grand Cross or Grand Square, kind of depends on your friendly astrologer and how you want to look at this, really comes down to two planets in opposition, squaring two planets in opposition. Let's look at the chart. I'll bring up a graphic for this. So what you have having are four planets all squaring one another. Now, as you know from the earlier episode, a square is where energy cannot talk to energy, right? There's a block between that. And most of the time when I'm spiritually consulting clients, that block is almost always a fear. It always boils down to a fear. So you have four planets all in fear when you have a Grand Cross. It can be very difficult. But really, it's not a bad thing. I find that although a lot of astrologers look at Grand Squares or Grand Crosses as very difficult to overcome, I actually look at it as purposeful. In other words, you're forced to have these two areas of your life stay in balance all the time, and these two areas of your life stay in balance all the time, and all four of them stay in balance all the time. So if you were to look at your chart like a wheel on a car, well, those two oppositions, the Grand Cross, is in fact keeping really a balance in your life. It's forcing a balance in your life. So although these people feel often very frustrated by those four planets being all in square, why they don't like it at all going on in their life, why they complain about it, the truth is if you look at the other aspects of their chart, that Grand Cross creates a stability in their life that allows them to flourish in other areas. So when I look at a Grand Cross or a Grand Square, I see right off the bat, okay, this is always fighting for balance, this is always fighting for balance, all these four have fears between them, but what's not restricted? So when I look at Grand Crosses, I look to see what's not restricted, because what's not restricted is where the soul's going to shine, where the soul should really focus their energy, invest their energy, transform their energy. Those 4 points in the Grand Cross are holding everything stable, and really the secret to it is finding balance between those opposing planets, so helping them find the balance between those two areas of their life, the two houses the planets fall into, the two energies the planets represent, balance there, and over your lifetime resolving the fears between those. Okay, so it can be the 1st and the 7th, right, and the 4th and the 10th. So there's fear between the ego and the home and the home and the marriage and the marriage and the career and the career and the ego. There's fear between all of that stuff, and they need to be resolved. But again, the soul will flourish by focusing on what's not caught up in the Grand Square or the big Grand Cross, as they call it. Now, my favorite is, of course, the soul pyramid. I love soul pyramids. I came up with that term, by the way. It's mine. I haven't trademarked it, but they call it a grand trine in classic astrology. I don't think grand trine says enough. What it is are three planets that are trining one another in a giant triangle on the chart. Okay? And these three trines, they all trine each other, so each 120 degrees from one another. What happens is it's a very positive effect. Those three planets, or conglomerate of planets, because maybe you can have two conjuncting and then they go up to one and one to another, they're all speaking to one another. I explain this in the daily horoscopes all the time. They're sharing energy. So what it is when you have a grand trine, you have hardwired those three areas of your life. They can all borrow from each other. The resources from one can lead to the other. And they tend to, technically they say, the other astrologers say that it's not really a grand trine unless all three planets or all 3 points are in the same element. So they must all be in air, or must all be in earth, or must all be in fire. When they are all in the same element, that soul has mastered that element. Okay, that means that there's not much more to learn. If they have a grand trine in earth, they're extremely stable. They've mastered the earth signs. They've mastered all 3 points. They've got 3 huge pockets of energy focused on the 3 different earth signs. So they know how to do Taurus, which is producing, Capricorn, which is sculpting, right, and Virgo, which is organizing. Those are 3 areas of manifesting reality in earth. We're going to talk about elements a little bit deeper in an upcoming episode. But, so it's a mastery of that. technically a grand trine is a grand trine. So if they don't fall into the same actual element, that soul has not mastered that element per se, but that soul has hardwired those 3 areas of their life. And of course, you want to look at the houses that they are in as well, because they've hardwired those 3 areas. So for instance, you could have a planet in the 3rd house trining a planet in the 7th house is trining a planet in the 11th house. So society is wired to message and wired to partnerships. This person is going to have, you know, be very political. They're going to have a message to say, and their spouses and partners in life are going to have a big part of what that is. You want to look at those in the big picture of things and see how they stream together. Also, I want to talk about what we call a yod. Now, a yod is what they call the finger of God. So yes, God does give people the finger, and it's called the yod. Okay, what it comes down to is an isosceles triangle, and there's a planet at the epicenter. Okay, and then there's 2 planets that are trining that planet. And then those 2 planets at the bottom, or wherever else it comes down to, is a quincux, which is a 150-degree angle. A quincux. Very rare, very subtle, 150 degrees. However, the whole point is that it's pointing. It's God. It's usually the universe going, look at that! This is what you look at. You want to look at the epicenter planet, the planet that's at the top of the yod. And you can find these in a lot of famous people's charts, like Ted Turner and Martha Stewart have yods. So it kind of is the universe kind of saying, focus on this. So it's kind of almost like a grand trine, but not quite, in the sense that 2 planets are all giving their energy to this top planet. And those 2 planets do talk now and then through a 150-degree angle as necessary. But really the focus of the yod is the top of the yod. Okay, so if you have a yod, you want to look at what that top planet is, and a lot of your aspects are tied to that. In fact, for all 3 of these, the grand cross or grand square, the grand trine, and the yod, whenever an aspecting planet, we're going to talk about aspects in an upcoming episode, but whenever an aspecting planet strikes one of these, the whole yod, the whole grand trine, the whole grand square gets lit up like a Christmas tree. So that's one of the vulnerabilities of grand aspects is you hit one planet, you end up lighting up all of them. And so these people who have these grand aspects can be very grandiose. Okay, there can be a lot more drama in their life, drama with the square, synergy with the trine. Sometimes drama, sometimes synergy with the yod, kind of depends. Yod is neither good or bad. It's just the universe showing work on this. But whenever aspecting planets hit any of these planets, it unites all of them. So you want to look at aspects, especially like Saturn. If Saturn hits one of them, the Sun hits it certainly. If Jupiter hits one of them, one of those outer planets hits one of the points of those grand aspects, everything is going to go up like a Christmas tree or go up kind of like a fireworks special. So it's something to look at. So check out your chart. See if you have grand aspects, and sure, leave me comments, leave me questions, and we'll be moving on to the next topic next week. Thanks for logging in. Having trouble in your love life? I have the answers. It's called Secrets of Birthdays, the Love and Lust Report. The biggest problem usually is people choose the wrong person. Not anymore. Find out your birthday secrets available online at secretsofbirthdays.com.
So garden.